So we have good number of participants now. Good morning, everyone. This is Kinnari here, and today we are here for the performance testing using K6 session. Uh, Harsha will be guiding us throughout the session. Harsha, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Kinnari. Hi, all. Very good morning. I hope everyone is doing well at their places. So, my name is Harsha Chandnani, and I'm there in ThoughtWorks as a QA since almost now about 3.5 years. But overall, industry wise, I have spent around 9.5 years. Performance testing, I have explored when I joined TW only after 1 year or so. And then, first of all, I've got an opportunity to work on performance testing using Gatling. But then in another project, I've got an opportunity to work on performance testing using K6. So I wish that this session is a learning for all of us, including myself, because I am nowhere expert in performance testing. It's just a learning phase for me, and being a thought worker, it's like always a learning and sharing culture. So I just want to share whatever knowledge I have gained so far with the QA community. Are we good to begin, or do you have any initial questions for me? I take it as no. Let me share my screen. Kinnari, let me know once my screen is visible.
Sure, Harsha.
Okay,
Yes, it's true.
it's visible, right? Okay, so
Harsha,
in
just before you get started, for the participants who join later, uh, folks, please don't unmute yourself while the presentation is going on. You can keep your questions and raise hand as and when Harsha will be available. She will be going through the chat or the questionnaires and she will be answering those questions, okay? So that we can have a smooth experience of the session. Thank you. Yes, Harsha, over to you.
okay. So let's begin. As we know, this is a session on performance testing using a tool known as K6. Pardon me, it should be small k as per the community K6 tool convention. Okay, so there are certain disclaimers which I wanted to highlight before I begin with it. So this workshop is what not it is about, and what it is about that we'll subsequently come to know. But then just to call out that what this workshop is not for. So we are not going to compare any performance testing tool here. These disclaimers are just because of time constraint. We have to limit our workshop in 2.5 hours, including breaks, which is why I have not covered these topics in details. So I'm not going to compare any performance testing tool. Every tool is good in its own sense. It depends all upon what our need of the project is. Also, we are not going to cover any programming language because I assume that we all have very I mean to say some basic understanding and knowledge of JavaScript, because K6 supports only JavaScript. And also, I'm not going to deal with any functional testing of the API, because the intent is to do the performance testing. So I'll just keep my focus onto perf testing and not the functional testing of the APIs. Also, I'll not go into explaining what the API is all about, response, request, headers, all this information I presume that we already have. Okay, so considering this disclaimer, I'll move ahead. I hope people are good. If we have any concerns, please feel free to call out. Else we can go ahead. Okay, so these are the steps which comes when we consider a performance testing. So I haven't referred any article or internet for this steps, because whatever I have learned based upon my experience from the past two projects, I have jotted down these points that what basically comes under performance testing. So first step I have mentioned finalizing is because first we have to get this mindset and get this requirement done that we have to do the performance testing of a project, and there is a need for it, which we have seen. Second phase comes is the intent. Intent is that, okay, now we have finalized this, now we have to start doing the performance testing, and this is what our team should do, and these are all the activities. So these are like some soft work kind of things which we do in the beginning whenever we are starting with performance testing. Then comes the important part, strategy. So when I say strategy, what I mean is performance testing includes two categories basically. First is known as server side performance testing. So what I mean by server side is that we will just be considering the APIs. That means the backend part. And second kind of performance testing is client side performance testing, which means that we wanted to check when our application is under load, how our UI is behaving, how the UI components are rendering. For example, consider the application of IRCTC. Whenever we have a 1 hour of Tatkal window period, sometimes we feel that the website gets stuck. So in that particular use case, we have to do both server. It's like I personally feel that they should have do both server side plus client side performance testing as well. Also in strategy for server side performance testing, there comes multiple ways. First example could be that whether, say suppose we have a web based application and there are many APIs in it. Now, strategy may it comes like, do we need to test load, like put the load on our APIs individually, like one API at a time, and then covering all the APIs to find out that which particular API is creating bottleneck for the system? This could be one way. Second way is that we have a particular workflow or a journey in our application, and we wanted to see that overall in the journey which particular step is a bottleneck. So what we do, we finalize the strategy in such a way that we put the load on the entire journey or the workflow. This will indirectly cover individual APIs as well, but then the technique what we are using, that would differ a bit if we are following this kind of strategy. Okay. Then comes the tooling part. So what I have experienced is that before we begin with the performance testing, once our intent and strategy is clear, we should do a spike of one or the like two or three tools at least. Because whenever we are doing spike, there are many pros and cons of every tool which we'll come to know beforehand. So like instead of taking one tool in just beginning only and then following it, and then later point in time we feel that this tool is not for what we have intended for, then all our efforts will go in vain. So it's better that we consider the tool, do a small spike of those tools, understand what are the pros and cons, and then pick up a tool and start using it. Then comes the, I would say in this entire flow, the most easy part of the performance testing, which is coding or recording, because nowadays many tools offer recording as well. Though I personally do not favor recording, because with coding we can explore many features of a tool. So this phase is coding, where we actually write our performance test code. Then comes the execution. So like coding, execution, analysis, these three steps has to repeat in a cycle. Like we do code, we execute, get the result, analyze it. If we feel there is some enhancement or there are some problems in the code, again we refactor, do execution, analysis. In this entire in all these stages, the most difficult or the most important stage is the last one, which is test result analysis. Because client generally doesn't bother about what tool we have used, how we are executing, or what fancy things we are doing in our performance testing. The client is basically interested in the results, what outcomes, what bottlenecks, what last with the end result, what we are presenting to client. So basically test result analysis is the key part in this entire life cycle of performance testing. Okay, before I move to K6 tool and its features, do we have any questions? I assume that we all are aware about various kinds of performance testing like SOAK and stress and other types. I'm not going in detail of any of those. Folks, any questions? Okay, I take it as no then. Okay, moving ahead. Now, I have taken K6 as a tool to start with this workshop. Why I have chosen K6, there is no particular reason. Just the reason is that I fall in love with the tool as compared to Gatling, because Gatling requires Scala and I was not at all good at it. But then nowadays, since we have lot of modern automation frameworks which are Java based, for example, we have Cypress and many other tools. So since I've got to got an opportunity to work with JavaScript, which is why I've started exploring and then also used K6 in my project, and then saw a lot of strong features in K6, which is why I've fallen for this tool. But as I've already said, this is not to compare or criticize or put down any other tool. All tools are good. We just need to explore based upon our need. Okay, so K6 is a free and open source tool. It will not run any code in browser, though we have the flexibility that we can do the functional testing of the APIs also with K6, but generally it is being used to put the load on the APIs. Again, K6 we will not be able to use for doing client-side performance testing. For that, we have several other tools. K6 is itself written in Go, but it has its own JS runtime engine, and the programming language which it supports is just JavaScript. We can do coding in TypeScript as well, but I have used JavaScript for this workshop. In our project, we have used TypeScript to explore the benefits of TypeScript also. Um, okay, so now some of the key features of these tools we'll see as in when we are progressing in the workshop. So let's begin. So I assume that we all have K6 CLI already set up in our machine. I know people are using Windows plus Mac. So I suppose that we already have K6. In case we do not have, no worries in it, but then node on npm has to be there in our machine, else we won't be able to do the hands-on. So does everyone has at least node.js and npm installed in their machine?
Can we get a thumbs up, people? Okay, I see many hands, Harsha.
Okay, nice then. Okay, so let's begin. What I'll do, I'll show everything from very scratch so that and I'll go a bit slowly so that you all can start doing on your machines parallelly. So let's come on to a common workspace. You might have your own folder structure. We'll create a simple folder here. Let me give the name as code space with K6. Just I have given this sample folder. Okay. I'll go inside this folder. So now if I see, there would be nothing inside this folder. Now, since we have already node available in our machine, what command we have to run is npm init y. So what this command will do, it will create a package.json in this folder. So this is our master folder, and inside it, we wanted to create a package.json file. After that, we'll install dependencies as per our need. So let's hit it. People start doing it on your machine so that you'll also get the feel of it. Okay, so I have run this command npm init -y, and now if I do ls-la, then I'll see that there is a package.json file got created. Earlier, there wasn't anything in the folder. Now, we just need one major dependency, which is K6. So let me install it. npm install. I'll take it as a dev dependency and then k6. Hit enter. Automatically k6 dependency will get installed, and if I do a cat of package.json, I'll see that there is a dev dependency of k6 came here. Now our need is over that we have got k6, but then like any other normal automation tool, we wanted to get an auto intelligence in our code so that it is easy for us. For that we have to install one more dependency. For that, we have to do npm install again dev dependency @types slash k6. So this is the one. Kinnari, is my terminal window visible?
Yes, Harsha. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is another dependency which I have installed. It's @types slash k6. This dependency will help us in using auto intelligence. So now again, if I do cat package.json, I'll get two dependencies. Now this folder is good. I can start writing the test. Now I am not very comfortable with writing code on terminal window. So let me use an editor, Intellij. I'll import this project and then we'll start writing code using that editor. You can use any editor of your choice. Visual Studio is also good, or Intellij, or any other editor. Okay, I hope my Intellij window is also visible.
Yes, Harsha.
Okay, cool. So now this repo is empty. Just we have this package.json wherein we have two dependencies already set up. Now let's start writing the code. Okay, to begin with, I'll just create one very simple Java, file. Say suppose script01.js. All files have to have the extension of .js because we'll be writing the code using JavaScript. Okay, now I hope people are with me. We have installed all the dependencies. There were two dependencies which we have, and we are good with it. I haven't started writing the code yet. Before that, let me see the questions. Um, IntelliJ screen is not visible. Oh, is it? Shall I stop? Kinnari, you said that you are able to view IntelliJ.
Yeah, previously when you opened it, no, that time I was able to see it. It's not side by side. Are you doing it side by side?
Wait, I'll reshare. Now is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then there was a question, what's your opinion about JMeter? So actually, in very beginning when I joined ThoughtWorks, at that point in time, I used JMeter, but then I was not felt quite comfortable with JMeter because in performance testing, while I explored other tools, I again I'm saying this is my personal opinion. I personally feel that when we write code, it's then when we are able to utilize the features of a tool more. So in JMeter, since I was not able to write code, I was not able to put that what I wanted to do. At that point in time, we were just using those folder structures of JMeter, which is why I haven't got a chance to explore this tool more. So I am not able to comment whether JMeter is good or K6. Okay. So now I'll open package.json file. Also, these are the two dev dependencies, I'll repeat, which I have in my machine for my project base, sorry, K6 and @type slash K6. Okay, let's start with very simple and very basic code. Now, K6 understand language of um, transcription. Okay. Okay, K6 understand the language of functions. So the first code which K6 understand, it's like in Java we have a main method, right? So for K6 we have to create a function. Now let me create a simple function first without using any export or any other thing. Let's say get call. Okay, I have just created a simple function, and what how we have to begin is the syntax says that we have to write this HTTP. I'll write again, and then see we have started getting auto intelligence. As I have hit enter, it got imported, and then here we have multiple API calls. Let me choose one get call. Now, in order to use these APIs, I'll be using this regress. It's a very simple, like a site with very simple APIs so that we can utilize it. Let me use this API. And now what I wanted to do is I just wanted to run this particular JavaScript file using K6. This is my only use case as of now. Uh, Let me know. I'm sharing my terminal window. Please call out if we are not able to view it. I have shared multiple screens, so let me know.
Harsha, we can see your terminal window right now.
Okay. So now we have that file here. So how we have to run this? First, we have to get that file. So it's this. What's the command to run it? K6 run and then the path of the file. Right now, this file is present inside my main folder only. So I'll just give the file name and hit enter. So see, as expected, it has given an error that no exported functions in script. Let's export this function. Okay, let's try to run it. Again, it has given an error that exported function is not a default one. So now we'll write default as well, and now it's completed because the main method for K6 should always have export and default. Then only K6 will be able to recognize it. Now let's run it. Okay. You see that now the code has run. Let me explain you the report because this report understanding is required when we move further. First of all, it says the execution is local. What does this mean is that we are executing this piece of code in our local machine. Okay. The name of this script output is hyphen because right now this has put everything on the console window. There are many other ways where we can send this output. Best example is K6 Cloud. I'll cover that later point in time. Now this says scenarios. So what it means is, in K6 we have a very great terminology known as scenario. I'll cover that scenario when I take up the advanced K6 discussion. For now, consider that this is a method which we are using to start executing. Okay, for now, consider this as this. I'll explain it later in detail. Then it says one max VUs and then some duration. Now, let me explain what VU is. VU means virtual user. So, whenever in real time we hit any application, we act as a user for that API or the application. In K6 terminology, K6 spin up a thread which is known as VU, which actually spins up and hits the API. In real time, when we wanted to put a load, we can define how many such parallel threads or VUs we wanted to spin up so that we can get that much required load onto our system. I can put 100 VUs, 200 VUs. depending upon my use case. For now, as you have seen, I have just used a simple command k6 run, which means that by default k6 is assigning just one VU. Okay. And then this 10 minutes 30 seconds max duration is the by default duration time of any k6 run. For now, we haven't defined any duration because in run command, we haven't utilized any parameters here. So what it is doing, it's just hitting that API, this API with just one VU. And as soon as this VU has received the response from that API, it has stopped the run. I hope I am clear. Okay. Now comes to iteration. What exactly? So all these are terminologies in K6, which is why I'm a bit slow now. As in when we'll get comfortable with these terminologies, I'll go fast. So we have understood what is VU. Now let's see what iteration is. So whenever a VU comes up and it takes certain time to ramp K6 to ramp up that VU, then once that VU is up, it will hit the API, get the response, and then K6 will gradually kill that VU. This entire process or this entire cycle is known as one iteration. Okay. Now comes what these things are, what these report says. So I'm not going into all these things. The important metrics I'll consider. First is this one, HTTP request duration. So this gives me the max, median, min, average, P90, P95 time, response time basically it is. Right now they have given the unit as MS also. And then this request duration is a sum of three other metrics. What are those metrics? First of all, how much time it required to send it, how much time it has wait for, and then how much time it took to receive the response. So this HTTP duration is the summation of these three metrics. But the important thing which we wanted to consider is just this. Another important metric is HTTP request, that how many requests we have sent to that particular API. In our case, since it was just one thread or view, we have hit that API just once, which is why it is one. And iteration, as I have said, it is the end-to-end flow. In our case, this was also one, which is why this is one. Now you see what's the difference between iteration duration and HTTP request duration. So this duration is, as I said, time to send, time to receive, and time to wait. But then this iteration duration also includes time to spin up VUs and time to gracefully shut down those VUs, which is why normally this iteration duration is bit higher as compared to HTTP request duration. Right now, it's a lot higher. It's 300 ms here and its average is 29 ms. Okay, so this is how we read the report. Do we have any questions? I haven't included any assertions or any advanced thing yet. It's just we have run one simple case. We have hit one API with one virtual user and we are just understanding what the report says. Okay, I suppose we are good.
So does this provide any HTML reporter as well? I mean, can we use any other HTML reporter with K6 other than
And
this?
okay, so when you say report as in HTML report as in, I didn't get your
I
question.
mean, graphical format, like in other tools we can get.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So K6 by default it supports many reporting tools. First is this is Grafana with InfluxDB. Also it supports Datadog dashboard, and then we have its K6 own private cloud wherein we can see the report. There are many other reporting tools like NetD, I guess. I have explored Datadog and K6 Cloud. These two reporting tools I have used. Datadog, it was a ask from our project. So at that point in time, we have used it. But for this for today's workshop, I'll be showing you reports on K6 Cloud.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other question, people? Yeah, just one more thing I wanted to share. So this is the K6 official documentation page. I hope my Chrome browser is also visible. Okay, I take it as yes. So this is the official K6 documentation page. They have very nicely and neatly documented all the things. Whenever we were working in our project using K6, we were continuously referring it because there are many, many new things which K6 community is bringing for our usage. So it's better that we keep ourselves updated with the latest features what K6 is bringing. So it's always best to refer to this K6 official documentation. It's very nicely written here, everything. What I have for this workshop, I have picked up just those important concepts which I have used personally in my project. But there are many other concepts. All the concepts I haven't covered for the workshop. Okay, moving ahead. For now, we have run just this script. Okay, now let me put certain parameters to it. Let's write it properly. So there are various parameters which we can provide to our code. When I have run the command using just K6 run, we have seen that K6 has given me just one VU by default. What if I wanted to increase the number of VUs? Then for that we have to provide some parameters while running the script file. So say suppose I wanted to hit my API with 5 parallel users, and say suppose I wanted to keep a load of 10 seconds on my API. Okay, because earlier, since there was no duration given, it just stopped it as soon as it receives the response from the API. But now I wanted to keep the load on that API for at least 10 seconds. You can increase, decrease. Followed by again the file name. Okay, so now let's run this. VU. It's VUS. Okay. So now if you see, earlier the test got completed quite fast, but now it is doing that same thing again and again for 10 seconds continuously. Which is why, so let's start understanding what this report says. This though we know now that we have 5 VUs, but then start understanding that why iteration count suddenly got increased to 1646. For that, if I wanted to explain you, is paintbrush visible? Mm,
Yes.
yes, okay. So say suppose this is my API, okay, and I have given that I wanted to hit this API continuously for 10 seconds with 5 VUs. This is what parameter I have given. So now what K6 does, it has pinned up 5 VUs together, and it will, all those 5 VUs at a single point in time will start hitting this API. Now say suppose this VU has received its response back. But since 10 second is not over, it will again hit it. Same process all the VUs will do. So until and unless this 10-second time window is there, K6 will every time ensure that there are 5 VUs up and running, and they'll continuously hit the API. So considering this pattern, we have seen that we have hit this API approximately some 1056, what number was given. So at the end, we have observed that in a duration of 10 seconds, K6 has hit this API this many number of times, which is 1646, sorry. Now, considering these 1646 hits to the API, it will calculate what is the average response time, max response time, or P95 response time. I hope this P95, P90 is clear. Or maybe I'll explain that out of these 1646, what is the 95 percentile requests have taken time. Max request they have taken one request maximum it might have taken 49 milliseconds, but majority of the requests have taken 34 milliseconds, and on an average if we calculate it was 29 milliseconds. And iteration will always be equal to request, at least in this case. Whenever there is a difference, I'll let you know. In this case, since we have hit that API the 1600 times, here also it will come as 1600. That 1600 times that request got fired. Okay. So this number, this 1646, again a call out, we won't be able to predict this number ever. Reason being, if the response time of the API is slow, then this number will decrease. But if the response time of this API is fast, this number will increase. Reason being, these parameters are constant. VU is also 5. That means we have just 5 threads. And 10-second time is also constant. So if API is giving me response in say suppose 1 microsecond, I'll be able to hit that API more number of times. Okay. But then one call out, which I'll explain in detail when I cover the advanced topics. This is not a right way of loading a system. Reason being, generally what we have observed when the API is continuously under load. Right now I have put the load on for just 10 seconds. But if I put a load on this particular API for say suppose 2 hours in order to do the soak, we realize that the API response time gradually decreases. So our iterations or number of requests what we are firing from the tool decreases or increases depending upon the request response time of the API. If we are doing that, we won't be able to keep a constant load of the app on the API or the desired load on the API. We'll get some false results. But right now, since I wanted to begin with some basic thing, which is why I have considered this type of run. But there are many other runs which K6 offers. I'll cover it. Okay, I'm open to questions. Then I'll proceed further. Do we have any questions? I'll check the chat. Okay. Are we too much clear or we are all clear? Sorry. Okay, I suppose we are clear, but people please keep on writing the code along with me so that we can be in same rhythm. Okay, now. Yep.
I have a question, Harsha.
Hmm.
I just ran the script and I'm getting minimum as 3. So why is that we are getting minimum 3?
Minimum, where can you point me to that?
No, VUS, virtual users, mine starts from minimum 3 and maximum 5.
3 and 5. You have used the same command, K6
Yes,
run?
yes, yes. My code starts minimum with 5 and maximum 5. So any reason for that?
I don't think so that your code should start with minimum 3 VUs because you have provided that the VU count should be 5, then K6 should spin up 5 VUs for you.
Okay, let me run again then.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Understanding the report is also important because as I've pointed out in my slide, that writing the code is very easy part in the entire performance testing life cycle comparatively. But then analyzing, finding out the bottlenecks is the main tedious task or the most tedious task. Okay, let's move ahead. Say suppose I do not want all this average, min, mid, max every time. I just want certain specific metrics which are of my use. So what I'll do, I'll introduce one more parameter to it. I check the syntax from here. This summary trend stats. For that, we have to provide, okay, say suppose this is the value we have to provide for this parameter. I'll explain what this all about is. Okay. And then again, we have to write the file name. Now it says that we should include min, average, min, median, max, count, etc. etc. Let me consider just average, max, and count. Why count? Because I wanted to explain something for count. Okay, I'll just consider these three metrics and run the test again. So now if we can compare earlier when we haven't determined, when we haven't written this, given this parameter, K6 was giving all the metrics which it has its by default. But now it is just giving us average, max, and count. What this count says that how many requests got blocked, how many requests got connected. So see, now we can see the difference. Earlier, the count of request sent was 1646, and now it's just 1601. Why this number of requests got reduced? Because earlier also we have put the load on the API. It might be possible that the API might slow down, which is why the number of iterations and number of requests decreased. But the significance of count is to just show that we have not lost any request in between, and to ensure that there weren't any failed count also, which is why this count I have used. But there are some K6 provides lot of metrics, very good metrics. There we'll anyways use a counter metric. So that counter will give us more insights and some important results to analyze. Right now, this is also one of the metric to view, which is why I have added it. K6 by default doesn't include, but if we want, we can explicitly call out. Okay. In this, while running, we can also pass the environment variables as well. Syntax is just we have to write minus e or minus minus env, name of our environment variable, say suppose myvar, and value for it. Right now I'm not using the environment variable because I haven't put up the environment variable in my code, so we won't be able to understand how and where this environment variable is getting used. But when I deep dive into scenarios, at that point in time I'll cover environment variables usage as well. Okay, so with this we have covered what? Running a basic K6 test using a simple get call. Now similar to this, we can run multiple like various other HTTP calls as well. K6 supports all the protocols, HTTP, HTTPS, TCP, and all other protocols. Normally in our day-to-day work, we use HTTPS calls only, which is why I have taken this. Now, let's say suppose I'll create another file wherein I wanted to show you how the post works, because for post we have to introduce the body as well. For that I'll show. So again, we have to write the export default function. Okay. Syntax would be exactly similar, but instead of get, we'll use post. Now, let me show you something. For post, it requires three kinds of parameters. For get, it just required URL and params, not the body. But for post, we have URL, body, and params. What this params, I'll show that as well. So URL, we all know. Body we have to pass, and parameters. Parameters can include all the header information. Okay, because many a times we have seen that many APIs require certain token or certain kind of response type. For that, we have to pass that particular information in header. So whenever we have to pass some specific information in header, we'll use params. Say suppose I'll want to hit this URL. Let me choose from here, create user. This is my URL, what I wanted to hit. Now this post call has a body. How to use it? So let's see. Now we have to properly convert the request body to JSON. If we are not doing that conversion, we'll get certain errors, and might be possible that the debugging would take time. So it's better that we follow certain proper coding practices so that we are not end up in doing unnecessary debugging. So what we should do is we have to stringify the, anybody is saying something? Okay. So what we have to do, we have to stringify a request body. How we'll do that? So JSON.stringify. Okay, inside that we have to pass this JSON body, and then that's it. Now, as I said that params require certain, we can pass parameters also, and params include header information. So say suppose I wanted to include certain header, content type. I guess I'm using the right header. Okay. Okay. So this is how the syntax look like, that we have to, params is nothing but an object. Inside this, we have to pass header information. So header, we can use it as a keyword, and then what all headers we wanted to pass, we can pass it as a key value pair. It's not just header, any other information which we wanted to pass to the API, we can include all of those inside the params. Okay, so now we have these three arguments which we have to pass it to our post function. First is this URL, then we have request body, and then we have params. Now comes to the actual business, that we wanted to check in the actual load condition, my API has not gone down, or it has not given me any error status code. So I wanted to assert on the status code as well. In get also we could have done that, but I'll cover here. Similarly, we can use it here as well for get call or any other HTTP call. So now this post returns the response. We'll capture this inside a variable known as response. People, please stop me if I'm going too fast. I have intentionally kept myself slow, but if it is too slow or too fast, please call it out. Okay. So now we wanted to assert whether the response code should fall, or we can say that it should not be, it should fall between 200 to 400, or it should be less than 400. If it is greater than 400, the status code, then my test should get failed. This is what my assertion is. What I'll do for that, So like we have any other runners in Selenium or Cypress we use for K6, the assertion which we use is check. So let me put this check. It will get imported from K6 library. Now, how to utilize this check? Okay. First of all, we have to pass response body, I mean the response to this check function. After that, we have to give curly braces, which is the set. What exactly comes into this set, I'll write. So we have to pass certain a string, say suppose it can be any string, but let's say suppose I'm giving the string as response status code check. Okay, it can be any user defined string. After that, we have to write a function. Okay, okay, we have to write a function. So this inside this object, we have a key which is a string, and then the value for this key is a function. Now, how we have to write the code is, here we have to write give pass this response. Let me give the name to this parameter is res. Now, how we utilize it? We say res dot status should be less than 400. I'll remove the unnecessary brackets. Okay. Is this check how I have written? Is this clear? So in this check function, we have to pass two parameters basically. One is the response which we have obtained. After that, we have to write an object such that inside it there would be a key, which is the user defined string, and then the value is a function. How to utilize this function is, we have to again call for the response, and then we have to utilize this response. In this we can capture any kind of assertion. For example, res.body. If we wanted to identify any particular thing which has to be present in the body, but as I've said, I'm not going into functional testing of the API. I'm not going into like dealing with the response body. I'm just considering the status code of it. If we wanted to put any other assertion, this also will come similarly. For example, res.body dot length should be equal or should not be equal to some MBs, something like that. These kind of assertions we can also put together. For now, we have considered just one assertion, which is response dot status code check. Now, what I'll do, let me write code properly. I'll create another function. Pass response inside it. Get this check call layer. Okay. Now we'll say if response dot status is so first it will check it, but then if I wanted to intentionally fail this test, so how I should do? Maybe what I'll do, I'll club everything. Let me complete writing the code, maybe then I'll explain. Okay. Okay, so what my if condition say, that if this check is not valid, that means if the status code is greater than 400, okay, because I have put this not symbol, then what you should do? Then I wanted to fail my test. Okay, so we can provide some proper string, say suppose API call failed with response. Say suppose I wanted to capture the response as well. What I'll do? Response dot body. Okay. And then I can call this function here wherein I can pass response. Okay, is this code clear? Maybe take some time to have a look, and then if we have any questions, I'll explain again. Are we good? Or I mean, we are able to understand. So the post call require three parameters. One is URL, request body, and any parameters. If we do not have any parameters, simply pass null here. Okay, and then this post call will return back a response. This response, we wanted to assert that the status code should be lesser than 400. We can put equal to 200 as well. It depends how we wanted to assert it. Okay, but there are certain APIs when it gives 201 as well, which is why I have kept it lesser than 400. So we wanted to now check whether what's the status code of this API is. For that, there is an inbuilt function in K6 which is known as check. If you see, it got imported from K6 library. Now there is a particular way of writing that check. First, we have to pass the response, and then inside this object, we have to pass a user defined string followed by a function. In this function, the parameter would be response, and then what we have to do with that response, we can write here. After that, we wanted to say if this condition doesn't met, which is why this not equal to sign is there, do fail my test. With this fail, the test will fail if this condition doesn't satisfy. Okay, so let me run this. Okay, and let me reduce. Okay, let it be. Okay, so see, this is that string which I have given. Since all these 127, for all the 127 iterations, the response code lies within 200 to 400, or it's like lesser than 400. Since for all these requests, this condition is met, my overall test is passed. However, if it would have happened that it is not like some has given a proper status code, but some has not, then it will mention here that so many HTTP requests got failed, and here it would be a red color cross sign that some thresholds have failed. Like that, an error message would have come. Okay, this is how we can apply assertions as well. The main assertion or the common assertion is check, but if we want, we can create our own reusable functions which we can use as assertions. Now, similar to http.get or post, we can use put, patch, delete, any other HTTP call we can call for. And then similarly, we have to start using it. Okay, so now we are here. People, do we have any questions? So far, I have just covered quite basics of K6. I haven't gone into any advanced topic of it. We'll cover it after some time. But for now, are we clear?
Folks, please feel free to ask questions. If you'll ask questions, then only your doubts will be cleared. So, yeah, please let us know if you have any queries.
Am I too slow or too fast? People are not following the code or anything of that sort. Let me know, please. I'll be slow.
Okay, we can do one thing. If you all are feeling like you all are going with the workshop, then please do a thumbs up so we'll understand that okay, everything is going well. Thumbs up, please, from all of you.
Or why not we'll give an assignment like that. People, let's write the code for a put or patch call. If you have all the things set up in your machine, use this request.in and you can code this put call. It also requires a HTTP call. I'll keep this code open. We can take some 5-10 minutes of time, but please start writing the code, else nothing would be clear.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Harsha. Once you are done, just put it on chat that you are done with the code.
Or if you are getting any error or stuck somewhere, then also.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, it's 11:05. Let's take 10 minutes of time. Please start writing the code. I'll copy this package.json here. So that we can use it. And also this thing. Take put call from here.
Hi Harsha, Avinash here.
Okay.
While typing HTTP, I'm not getting any suggestion for import. Am I missing something?
Yeah, in your package.json file, Avinash, can you please get this dependency also? Types slash k6. This is for auto intelligence. Please check if you have this dependency. In your terminal window, once you are there in your project folder, you can type this command also.
Which command?
I'm putting on Zoom chat. Zoom chat. Give me a minute. Yep. In your terminal window, You have Sri is saying that you have it, but still it doesn't show up. Can you check in your node modules if it's actually may install here? If you see in
Yeah,
my
I can see
IntelliJ
that
window,
same types, K6. I can see all these in my workspace even.
you mind sharing your screen?
Okay.
Hey Avinash, are you sharing or
Uh,
shall I share?
yeah, you can share. I'm facing some issue. Just a second.
Okay, okay, no worries. So it's like whenever we are done, start this function inside this, you just have to type HTTP. It will come. If the IntelliSense dependency is there, it will come.
Okay. Okay, I'll try sharing my screen. Can you just stop your screen share?
Okay.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, yep. It's visible. Thank you. Okay. Can you please open your test? Oh yeah. Okay. So 1 minute. Okay. So how we have to write here is I'm not able to control your machine. Can you clean all this?
Okay, which one?
The entire function, please.
Okay.
Okay. Then type export default function, name of the function. Yep. Now type HTT, just HTT. Uh, okay. Can you open your terminal window of the IntelliJ? Yep. Can you type npm install once? It's already there. And once your package.json file, please. No, no. Can you open it? The
Okay.
second tab in your machine. Eco dev 6. Why this is not there? Is anybody else also facing the same issue or is just with Avinash? Did
I'm
anybody try?
I'm also facing the same issue. I'm
Okay.
also
And
I saw library root here next to node modules in your project. Is that some? Am I missing something?
library root. How do you have created this project folder?
No, the same steps I followed. Like I created using
Okay.
terminal.
Then library root, I don't think so. It has caused any issue because all other things I can see it's fine. Under node modules, you have types and K6. Package.json may we have these two dependencies. Hmm. Okay, can you write a command in your terminal? Type npm install
Yeah.
and space give K6. Might be the dev dependencies are not being recognized. Okay, and then type npm install or what you'll do first from your package.json, clean the dev dependencies, that entire object, clean it out from line number 12 till line number 15. Line number 12 till line number 15, clean it off. Now remove this also. Okay, come to your terminal. Now type npm install k6. npm install was already there. Just type k6.
Okay.
Okay, can you refresh your package.json? Okay, now it is under dependency. Now again run the command npm install at the space at the rate types // k6, hit enter. Can you refresh your JSON file again? Okay, now go back to your basic script.js. Okay, now clean this HTTP all. Now try typing it. Why man, it's not coming. Okay, you type http.get. Inside this, give a URL.
Okay.
Just type regress in here only. It will come. REQRES QQ. The first one. Yes. Scroll down. Yeah, copy this. Or maybe you can click on this link. Click on this link. Take the URL. Copy this. The entire URL. Come back to your Intellij. This thing. In put single quotes there. Inside this, put it. Okay, export default function. Now try to run it without IntelliSense once. You can run here in Intellij terminal window also. Just type k6 run space run and then the basic script.js like that you type. Hit enter. Okay, HTTP is not defined. We have to import it, which is why this is not defining. But your test is running properly. Just the IntelliSense is not working. We have to check this, Avinash. I have tried all possible ways, but
Okay.
not very sure.
Let me try another and I will check once. Another.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
I was looking at some forums, and a lot of people have had the issue, and it's related to the settings, IntelliJ settings. So people have given suggestion to get the power mode off and on. So I'm not sure if it's related to the dependencies or just the application itself.
I don't think so, Sri. It's related to the dependencies because types K6 is that one.
Yeah, exactly. I meant the same. So it has to do something with the IntelliJ settings that we have, maybe a bit different. We might have to enable things.
If you people have Visual Studio Code, which is a free editor, you can try in that as well. Whenever I'll call for a break, just download Visual Studio Editor and use that.
Yeah, I have it. I was planning to switch as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Others, did you try or facing any issues? I really advise people start code it, else it won't be a workshop kind of thing. It will be just I am speaking and you people are just listening. Because like the people are getting questions, so until and unless we're not getting our hands dirty, we won't be able to understand the thing and face the issues. Okay, so with this, I'm done with the basics of K6, the very basic features of K6. Now I wanted to deep dive into certain advanced concepts of K6. Once that advanced concept is done, so the agenda is advanced concept. After that, I'll show you the report as I've said, K6 Cloud. And after that, I wanted to show you the integration of this code with a CI/CD tool to see that whenever we do a Git push or any pull request, how the the code gets triggered in our CI/CD pipeline. For demo purpose for this workshop, I have used GitHub because my Bitbucket license, which I have taken, that got expired unfortunately. So I've switched my this thing to GitHub only. Okay, for now let's take 15 minutes or Kinnari, how much time for break?
We can have a 10 minutes break, Harsha.
Okay, let's take 10 minutes break. After that, we'll connect back.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. Avinash, here it worked for me in Visual Studio. It worked.
Awesome then. Then it's definitely some IntelliJ settings, Avinash. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, people in your free time, please, if you face similar issue in IntelliJ, switch to Visual Studio and then use it. It's quite a lightweight editor and freely available. Okay, it's 11:20. Let's reconnect by 11:30. Then I'll deep dive into some advanced concepts of IntelliJ.
People can stay on the Zoom itself. Just unmute yourself, mute yourself, and come back around 11:30.
Yep.
Okay. See you then. Hey folks, if you're back, please can you comment on the chat if you're back, that we can get started. Harsha, I think we can get started. I see people pinging that they are back.
Okay. Okay. So far we have covered the basics of K6, how to run it, how to run a basic K6 script, and how to read the report which gets printed onto the console. But then, of course, performance testing doesn't end here, and we have to play a lot with our code. Now, let's start doing deep dive into the code. Now, the script which I have written is quite boring. I wanted to make it interesting with certain advanced feature of K6. Let me create a new file for that. Let me call it as suppose this is also a basic only because I'll write clean code now later point in time. So say suppose basic test 01.js. Okay. Now there are certain features which K6, certain very strong and powerful features which K6 provide. I am exploring those and then we'll be able to connect how in real-time web application we'll be utilizing those. So there are certain features like options, scenarios, various kinds of metrics, thresholds that K6 provide. All these terms sounds quite confusing, but let's not confuse with them and let's start write the code. So as I've already told you that by default K6 identifies a function which is exported and defaulted. But then there is another way to write the main method in K6, which is more advanced. Let's explore this. Once we'll do that, we'll start understanding more and more concepts. So we have to create one object known as options. Okay, the syntax says that we have to export it. If we are not exporting it, it won't be visible for K6. So export const and options. This name of the object is also should be options only. And then now we'll start creating this object. Inside this, we start following or we start using the concept of scenarios. So basically, what scenario is, uh, if you folks remember when I talked about the strategy part of the performance testing, I said that there are various ways of achieving server-side performance testing. One strategy is that we need to consider individual APIs, put a load on those APIs, identify which API is creating the bottleneck. I am following this strategy for the workshop, but there can be many other strategies possible. So now if say suppose this is my web application example, and this web application has many APIs. Let's say suppose I consider just 4 to 5 APIs from this web application and I wanted to put load on each and every API. Okay. But then there are certain ways of putting load onto these APIs also. When I say certain ways, what I mean is, say suppose there is a create user API. For example, in my web application, create user API. These APIs are generally not in too much of use, because if an admin has already created, say suppose some 100, 200 users that would be enough. Generally, this is the tendency. And then there are certain APIs, for example, list resource or or for example, login APIs. These kind of APIs are quite heavily used. So depending upon what could be the loading condition on that particular API, we have to decide the strategy. Okay. Now, K6 has given us some these many strategies to be used: shared iteration, per view, constant, etc. etc. So far in the current version of K6, what is available with us, we have these many strategies. For now, you just read the terms. I'll explain what these strategies are all about and how to utilize these strategies. So if we want to use these strategy, every strategy should fall under a scenario. So basically, scenario is a logical group or a logical block which our test case has, and how many scenarios we are writing in our test case code, those scenarios K6 will execute in parallel depending upon what kind of strategy we have provided to it. To explain it better, I'll use this. Is paintbrush visible, right? Hello? Kinnari, you there?
Hey, Harsha, tell me.
Is paintbrush visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what I was talking about, how to design the strategy. So say suppose this is my test code. I mean, this is the class. .js class is there. Inside this, I wanted to hit some 4 to 5 APIs. Let's consider in our use case, we wanted to put load on 4 APIs. This API is less frequently used and this API is lot used. Okay. So onto this API, we have to put a bigger load, and onto this API, we have to put a smaller load. Now, these load putting strategies are known as executors in K6 world. But in order to use this executor, we have to write this executor load in a block of code known as scenario. For example, if we have worked with um, Mocha framework, there we have a describe block. Inside that we have lot of test blocks. So similarly, here also in this JS file, I'll be creating couple of, or in this case, 4 scenarios. For every scenario, I'll be using a different strategy or executor to see what kind of load it is putting onto that particular API. Is this explanation clear? While writing the code, you will be able to connect the dots better. Okay, so let me write the code. Everything should come under this block, export constant options. Now, the first thing what we have to write here is scenarios. Again, scenario is an object in itself. Here, say suppose I want to consider 4 APIs. First is the create API. Second, say suppose single user, register or login. I'll take any 4 APIs. So let me create 4 scenarios inside this block. Let's say suppose for now I am giving very simple name because right now I wanted to show you how the code works. Okay. These can be any logical names. For now, I have given SC1 like that. You can give create user, proper name, register user, delete user, so on and so forth. Inside every scenario block, here we will point out that which strategy or what kind of load we wanted to put for this particular scenario. Okay. For this, we have to use a keyword known as executor. Now, as I mentioned in this slide, that K6 offers these many six executors. For the workshop, for simplicity perspective, I'll cover these first four scenarios because these have to deal in detail. But modern K6 says that we should be using these two executors more preferably. Okay, so for now, let me use first executor, shared iteration. Now, with every executor, we have to provide some specific parameters for every like different executor has its own set of parameter which K6 recognizes. For that, need not to mug up or remember the syntax. Just go to K6 documentation, come to scenarios and executors. Here they'll mention all the executors. We just have to go and copy these things because executor name I have already given. I'll explain what these things are all about. Okay, for now I'm just writing the code and then I'll explain. Next executor I can take is per VU iteration. And for this executor, what are parameters we need mandatory is this. If we not provide these parameters, then our test will fail. Okay. And then I'll consider third executor, which is constant we use. Just take two parameters and then ramping we use. Okay. Now, how to understand this code, I'll tell you. So first is the shared iteration. What this kind of executor does is, I'll use this paintbrush again to explain. So in shared iteration, we are restricting the K6 to say that hit my API 200 times. That means the iterations which I have mentioned, hit my API these many number of times, but spin up these many parallel threads at once. So what I meant here is, say suppose this is my API under test. I am clearly constructing K6 that you should hit it 200 times only. That's it. But now how to achieve that 200 hits? So you should spin up some 500 VUs at a time and then hit it. So say suppose for the first second, 5 VUs will come. They'll hit this API 5 times. Once they'll receive the response, every VU, depending upon in how much time it receives the response, it will start hitting that API again. These arrows or these 5 VUs will continue hitting this API 200 times only. So there is no time boundary here. The restriction factor or the upper limit factor is this number of iterations we have identified. Generally, this kind of executor is being used when we wanted to create any test data. Best example, as I told you, it's like create certain users or create some properties or create any particular test data so that we are restricting the number of times we are hitting the API by iterations. For now, say suppose I wanted to create 10 users with 5 VUs at a time. What this max duration says, sometimes API gets hang in between. Okay, and it stops giving the response. If we are not giving this max duration, K6 will infinitely wait for that API to respond back. So we are saying that give it max duration of 10 minutes or 10 seconds, so that if this entire scenario is not getting over in a span of 10 minutes, forcefully kill it. Okay, this max duration is for that purpose. So this I have told you the significance of this particular strategy. Then comes per VU iteration. What it says is that 10 parallel threads you spin up together, and these 10 parallel threads should hit my API. Sorry, it's like 10 parallel threads you spin up together, and every thread will hit my API 20 times. Per VU, these many iterations. Every VU should hit my API 20 times. That means how many total number of times I'm hitting my API? 10 into 20, 200 times. So say suppose this is that API. I'm saying this VU should hit my API 20 times. Okay. Then again this VU should hit my API 20 times. What this kind of strategy is giving benefit to me is that at a particular point in time I wanted to achieve what RPS. Okay, minimum, like say like for in this particular example, minimum I'm getting 10 requests per second for sure. It can be more than that, but at least I'm getting 10 requests per second, because I have 10 views. All the views are starting hitting together. So 10 RPS ka speed to for sure I'll get, but then it will, over the period of time, it will increase the number of hits onto the API. Okay. And again, this max duration is if the API gets hanged, we have to forcefully kill it. So this type of strategy is also determined till these number of HTTP calls are getting done. 10 into 220, 200. As soon as we have hit the API 200 times, the scenario will come to an end. The third strategy, which is constant views, this was the one which I have used by default, that for 45 minutes of time, you spin up 10 views and let these 10 views keep on hitting the API. Okay, so for in our case, let's hit it for 3 seconds. 2 views should hit it for 3 seconds. Okay, and here it should, there we can give 5 seconds and 2 views. This is the most what to say, usable executed strategy of K6, apart from the other two which I'm not covering. Ramping views. Now what we have to do here is we mention the stages, that the first stage is the ramping up phase, wherein we'll say that in 5 seconds of duration you give me 100 views. Don't hit my application, just spin up 100 views and keep them ready. After that, say suppose I wanted to soak my system, so you say for 5 hours you maintain this target of 100 views and keep on hitting my API. So the graph will be, there would be a slight ramp up time, then there would be a continuous soaking, and then there will be a shutdown, that you have to kill all the views in a span of 5 seconds. If say suppose we wanted to bring slowly, like put the load on our API slowly, then we can increase or decrease these stages. Say suppose for 5 minutes. After that you say, for say suppose now you load my API for 10 minutes and gradually increase the load. So we can, in any permutation and combination, we can give the stages here. Okay, for 20 seconds, say suppose I put the load, and here let me put the 10 views only. And this graceful ramp down is that once this entire process is done, we have to slowly bring it back. Okay, and then we are saying this graceful ramp down should not take any time and it should just be stopped. Once this is done, you should stop this scenario instantly. But here, let me give some logical time. So this is how we have to write the scenarios. But then I haven't shown that which scenario, which like for which particular API, which scenario is applicable for. For that, what we have to do is, so here I'm not going to use export default function because if for every scenario, I wanted to give my own method name or own API. So I'll introduce one more parameter here is exec. Here I'll mention the method name. Say suppose test method 1. Similarly, I'll introduce test method 2. Inside these, so what I'll do, I'm going to create these 4 kinds of functions, export functions, and then I'll define that which particular API I wanted to hit as part of that function, and then that API will take up that particular executor. Okay. Is this scenario part clear? Scenario 1, 2, and these executors. Okay, I suppose yes. Now we have to come out of this option block and we have to start writing the code. Here, and one important thing is that we have to give the method name similar to the string what we have mentioned here. If it is test method 1, it has to be test method 1 only. Okay. Inside this, we'll write the code what I have told you, that http dot get like that, and here http dot put or post, whatever it is. So like for example, this code I'll bring it here. Okay, and then this entire code I'll bring here, and then this check status code function I'll write at the end, and let it should validate this also. Okay, similarly we can write n number of other API calls here also. Okay, so let me complete this because I wanted to run and show you to save the time. Um, let me use the same API, or maybe what I'll do. Okay, so I have used 4 different APIs, and all these for four different APIs, we have different executors. Okay, so the code is ready. Here, if you see, I haven't written the default function, but since options is there, K6 will identify this options and it will run the code. So let me run it. And now I won't pass any parameters like views and durations because I have scenario with me. Basic test. See this? It is saying SC1, SC2, SC3, SC4. SC1 has its own executor, SC2, SC3, SC4, and it is running scenario by scenario. By default, all these scenarios are parallel. If we want to make it sequential, we have to give another parameter known as start time. What does it mean is that it will start after a period of 30 seconds or 30 minutes, so that within that time the another scenario can get over. But this is not a good practice because it will unnecessarily delay the execution. If we want to keep sequential, it's better we'll create different JS files and then in our pipeline make it run sequentially. Okay, so here if we see now, um, this 7497 is the overall number of requests which has been fired by all the 4 scenarios. I'll tell you how to segregate the count as well, but for now the report, what number it is generating, it says that total number of requests is 7497. Now what I'll do is, in order to explain better, I'll run the scenarios one by one so that we'll be able to understand the report better. Right now I'm just running one scenario. Now if you see how many requests are there, 10, because it's a shared iteration. So as I said, the number of requests would be maximum this 10, which is why this 10 requests are there. Okay, now let me run second scenario. Here the number of requests should be 2 into 5, again 10, or let me make it 3. So 3 into 5, 15, but it's a post call. Okay, let it be. So see, it has created 15 users because the way we have given the executor. Now here, constant views may, we won't be able to determine how many requests it will fire, because it depends upon in 3 seconds how much is the response time, so that these 2 views will keep on hitting the API. Okay. So see, it ran for these 3 seconds, and then in 3 seconds time interval, these 2 views have hit the API 183 times. And now this is the most interesting thing, wherein for 20 seconds we wanted to load the API with 10 views. So for 20 seconds it will run, and then the number of iterations or the HTTP request would be too much. So here the timer is also happening. 20 seconds is what the time we have given, and 10 seconds is the graceful ramp down time, or it has considered this entire duration, 5 seconds, 20 seconds and 5 seconds. So 5 seconds to spin up the views, 20 seconds to actually put the load, and 5 seconds to terminate the views. Okay, so see, number of iterations, again we were not able to control because we have loaded the API for 20 seconds. So 20-second time. Okay, so this is how we use different executors or various kinds of load conditions depending upon what need we have. If we wanted to, if in our use case we say that we wanted to load all the APIs in one particular fashion, then it would just be one single scenario. And then what we can do is, instead of writing so many methods, we'll write just one default method, put all our code inside it. So it depends upon what strategy we have planned. If we want to put different kinds of load conditions for different APIs, we have to select various scenarios. If not, then we'll take just 1 or 2 scenarios. Depending upon that, we'll put all our code in that test method only. Now as a second step, what I wanted to show you is thresholds and metrics. But before that, I wanted to run this test on a cloud so that we'll cover the reporting part at least. So now, if we want to see how these reports look like in a particular reporting portal, we have to do certain integrations of our code with that portal. Okay. In my case, since I have used K6 Cloud, so in order to use K6 Cloud for you folks, what you have to do is you have to create a free trial, or it's a purchased one. I have already created a free trial for myself, and for my email ID, it has given me one token. So what I have to do is first I have to log in from my terminal window so that I can set up a connection. Okay. So the code for it is, the syntax is K6 login cloud, and this is my token ID. You can create a free trial of your email ID. It's available for 30 days, I guess, and it will generate a token. So first we have to make a connection to the cloud. Okay, it says that, okay, with this token, it has made the connection. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to run this test on cloud. Okay, so what the syntax is, K6 run minus minus, or it says, I guess, cloud, and then the test name. Here, okay. K6 run minus out parameter we have to give in cloud. Okay. Either it's minus minus out or minus O, and then cloud keyword we have to use, and then the name of the test case. So for now, only scenario 4, I guess, was why it has not run. Let me delete it once. And we have all the 4 scenarios here. Basic test 01. Okay. I have to do the login again. Requested duration, subscription trial. Okay, let me run one scenario to show. Already running. Oh, I guess some test is already running here. 1 minute. Okay, so actually one test is already running, which is why it is not taking the other test. Let it run, and then we'll be able to see the report here. So if I go inside this, it will say that maybe I'll show you another report that I ran yesterday. Here, if you see that how many tests failed, how many tests got passed, and these kinds of reports, like someone was asking that what kind of report, it will say how many reports we have made, how many failures there was, what was the peak RPS we have achieved, and what is the average response time. Here, if we see, I have not talked about thresholds. I'll do that in some time. So it will say how many thresholds have passed and how many thresholds were failed, how many I have intentionally kept certain checks. So it's telling me that all the checks have been passed and what are the HTTP calls I have made. Okay. So it's still running. So let me abort this test and I'll rerun my test. Let it stop. Okay, so what intent I wanted to clarify from here is that first we have to create a token using for that K6 cloud. After that, we can run it. Right now, I'm running it using a command here, but when I'll show you the integration with CI/CD with GitHub, at that point in time, all these commands will go into that YAML file, and then whenever we do a git push to our code repo, it will trigger the pipeline, and automatically, depending upon our use case, either it will trigger that test execution in a remote container which GitHub provides, or if we want, that test case will get executed on our cloud as well. So depending upon the parameters what we are providing in the GitHub YAML file, the test will run in that particular system. Okay, so last run is aborted by user. I'll trigger the run and then I'll continue the uh, not allowed. Oh, sorry. This time is too much here. 1 minute. Okay. So let this test run here in the cloud. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll cover some other concepts. So what I have done here is I have used various executors or different kind of strategies to put various kinds of loads on the API. But then um, my test should fail or my test should pass depending upon certain conditions which I wanted to provide. What what those conditions can be? Say for example, I wanted to say that if um, average response time of my API is not is greater than 500 milliseconds, then fail my test. Example, because whenever we start with performance testing, no, clients used to give us SLAs that this is what your ideal response time should be. That means, say suppose Flipkart wants that their API should respond well within 2 seconds. Example. So what kind of assertion I'll put up, that if API is taking more than 2 seconds of response time, fail my test. Okay. Similarly, I'll show you how to put these kinds of assertions. Okay. So within this only, I'll put here. There is one more good practice to follow is discard response bodies. By default, K6 keep the response bodies. But if we want that once the test is over, we do not want response bodies, then we should set this flag to true, that discard response bodies. It will improve the performance of the machine onto which we are running the K6 tests. Okay. Another kind of parameter that comes under options is thresholds. This is the one that decides that at which point of time we wanted to fail our test case or which point of time we wanted to pass our test cases. For example, here we have seen the pattern that all the APIs were giving the response within 10 milliseconds. And sometimes if we are increasing the load, we have seen that the response time increased. So let's put a condition here that um, HTTP request duration. Here what I wanted to say that, say suppose for all the APIs P95 should be less than 2 seconds. Say suppose this is my condition. If this assertion doesn't pass, then it will fail. So let me reduce the time so much that it should fail. 5 ms. Okay, I want that it should fail. If any of the API has P95 uh, lesser than 5 milliseconds, then it should fail. Okay, so basically this condition should pass. That means all APIs ka P95 response time should be lesser than 5 milliseconds, or I'll put 10 ms. Now if I run it, and this is already run, so if you see this test got passed, and let's fail this test now. Okay, and let's run it on cloud only. Okay. Line number 617, what it's saying. Okay, so by default it doesn't take unit, it is considering it as millisecond only. So let it run. Okay, so in this way, if we are putting any checks here, we'll say that depending upon this check, if this check doesn't met, our test should fail. So one way of failing the test case is to use the check assertion here. Another way of failing or passing the test case is to put up certain thresholds. There can be many thresholds here. Say suppose I'll say that out of all the API hit HTTP request, I should get at least 90% of the API calls should pass. For that, I can put up one check. Okay, so there are various kind of thresholds which we can put inside this threshold block. And if it is not getting respected, then that test will fail. So see, it says some thresholds have failed. Why? Because this metric is not, so response check code. All the APIs have given a valid status code, which is 200. But then the duration is, see, P95 ka value is 30.
Your terminal, I guess.
Oh, is it? 1 minute.
Everybody is on mute, Harsha.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone must have accidentally unmuted themselves.
Okay. Is my terminal window visible now?
Yes.
Okay. So this assertion got failed because this is what I have given here. Intellij is also visible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So since I have put up assertion on HTTP request duration alone, it just validated this metric only. There are so many other metrics also, but I have kept assertion on this metric alone. Since I say I expect that it should be lesser than 10 seconds, it fails because it observes that some requests P95 is 38 milliseconds. If I put less than 50 seconds in my code, then this test will pass. So here if you see in cloud also, it got failed. Okay, because it is saying that this threshold is not respected. Okay, this is how we can make our tests fail or pass depending upon what thresholds. I actually have planned to cover more thresholds like some metrics and other thresholds, but um, I'll leave that in between because I wanted to show you the GitHub thing as well, that how to create the YAML file, other stuff, because without CI/CD, the workshop won't be, I won't feel that it is completed. So consider that this much code we have written. Now I hope that everybody is having their GitHub account with them. What I'll do, I'll use my own GitHub account. Is my GitHub page visible?
Yes, Harsha.
Okay, so what I'll do, I'll create a blank repository here. Okay, I'll make it public and I'll create a repository. Okay, so now I have created this. Let's quickly run the basic git commands. Okay, I forgot to add one git ignore file. I have a template already available for git ignore file so for now to save the time, I have just copy pasted that content, but I'm sure people are aware, right, what goes in git ignore and other git basics. I suppose, right? We all have context like what this file is for and what's this uses. So basically I had the template and so I have utilized it. I just copy pasted. Okay, I'll do git add all git commit. So now I wanted to point it to branch master and then okay, and then git push. Simple. Okay, so now this normal work is done. Now comes the actual part. Now all the stuff like code and everything is here. What important thing I wanted to show is my GitHub page is visible, right, Kinnari?
Yes, Harsha.
Okay, so come on to your GitHub page, go to actions, and then you have to create a workflow for yourself, for your project. So click on this setup a workflow. Here we have to create one job. By default, Git has provided us a job known as build, and it is running one echo command. Okay, we wanted to create our own job inside it. Okay, here since always there is a syntax problem with this YAML file, so I'll write my code here only. And here K6 has already provided to us uh, the description, the job details. So I'll just copy paste that code snippet from here. Okay. So if you see here, this is my job name, K6 load test. This is the name. It runs on, for now I have given that it should run on an Ubuntu machine. What are the steps that it should perform? It says that first you check out your code. Okay. For that, it does this action. After that, you have to run it. Okay, what file name we wanted to run with K6, that file name we'll provide here. Okay. So I still feel that my GitHub page is visible. So what I'll do, I'll start, give a job name, K6 load test. So this is my job name. After that, I say you name it as K6 test and you runs on Ubuntu latest. Okay, I'm just typing it because this YAML file needs to be proper syntactically, which is why I'm taking this time. Else it will fail for syntax reasons. Now we'll say what are the steps. For that, I'll give name to the step. Say suppose first step is checkout. After that, says what you want to use. And then I'll give another step, says run test on local, and then it uses. So K6 has an integration with GitHub, which is why this K6 IO action at the rate v1.01 is there. And then here we have to pass the file parameter. With file name, my file name is basic test 2.js. Okay, that's it. This is how we have to insert this one more job within this jobs parameter, and then we have to, let's preview it so as to see that there should not be any mistake in the YAML file. Okay, I can commit it at runtime. So now within this .github workflows, it create a main YAML, and action may, if you see, it has triggered the pipeline. And see, as I've told you that in that YAML file, there were two jobs. One was build job, which is just echo run. It says some echo command, and then K6 seems to fail because it says that basic test.2.js file cannot be found on local disk. Okay, let's debug it. Okay, so here basic test 02 it was there. Okay. So what file name I have given basic test 2.js, but my file name was basic test 02. So if I want to edit it, what I'll do is I'm just doing all these actions here only in GitHub, and just I've edited and committed it. Okay, again it will start a run. So let's see. So since I have mentioned that on push, on checkout, you should do all these actions, which is why as soon as I'm doing a git push, or because here in using GitHub, I am directly doing a git push. So here, as soon as I'm doing it, it starts running the code. Okay, so right now, since I have used normal local run, which is why it is running like this. But if I wanted to put run it on cloud, that also we can do it. Just we have to add, like when I was showing you how to run the K6 test on cloud, I have used a token, right? That token we have to provide in the GitHub secrets. After that, we have to tweak that YAML file ka command a little bit, and then it will not take GitHub ka container. Instead, it will run my test case on the cloud. Let's see why it got failed. So it says some thresholds have failed. Again, because I intentionally have given lesser threshold. Okay, this is why the test got failed, but the test executed successfully. So this is what I wanted to show you, that how to trigger the pipeline also. In this case, I have used a tool as GitHub only. Okay, so I've covered reporting part, I have covered the pipeline part, but then I wanted to cover lot many other concepts of metrics, life cycle and other stuff, which I guess because of time crunch I won't be able to do. But then for now, I feel it's enough to at least start to begin using K6. And as I've said that this documentation is quite rich within itself, we can start exploring it and then come up with different kinds of strategies we wanted to use for the performance testing. So far, do you people have any questions? I know in the last half I have rushed a bit because my intent is that at least the basics should be clear for the people who are completely new to the tool. Any questions, anything, any feedback? Or maybe if Kinnari, do we have time? Kya? We can extend or we have a hard stop at 12:30?
We can extend for a couple of minutes. Let's ask the audience if they are okay with that.
Okay. People, I wanted to cover one more, two more concepts. If we feel that it's Saturday morning and we are in rush, then it's okay.
You can put it on chat, people, that if it's okay to continue or we need to hard stop. Anything is fine. Can we have your responses on the chat, please? Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. I suppose people want to rush.
Okay. Okay, yeah, then that's fine. People, before dropping off, yeah, some of them are telling
Some
that
of
we
them
can
saying let's
continue. Yeah,
continue.
yeah. So just one thing, Harsha, before continuing, can we give 1 minute for filling the feedback link that you have shared, please? Because
Yeah, sure.
feedback
Let's
is
fill
really,
it.
really important for us, so we can incorporate those feedbacks in our coming sessions, right?
Yep.
Uh, Kirtana shared the link. I'll still copy the link once again. Just a minute. And please do share your valuable feedback, folks, because this will really help us in growing this coder space events. Let's just take a minute and fill the feedback form. It's like the stickies that you use in murals, right? You just have to click on the plus sign on what went well and what could be improved. And yes, we're done. I don't see any stickies yet. Are you guys able to access the link?
Mm,
Yeah, we can able to.
yeah.
Please do share your valuable feedback, folks. Yes, Harsha, you can continue.
Shall I?
Yes.
Okay. Is Intellij visible?
Yes.
Please be little active for just 5-10 minutes. I promise won't take more than that. Okay, so when I was talking about threshold, I'm just covering some very important and though some basic concepts. So here what I have done is in threshold I have put up threshold for all the APIs. I have 4 kinds of APIs and I have used 4 kind of executors. So it doesn't sounds fair, no, that for all the APIs I'm giving the same kind of response time threshold. So there is a way to achieve that for different APIs we can provide different thresholds. Okay, there is a way K6 helps us in doing that. For that, we have a metric in K6 known as trend. Okay, how to write the code for it, I'll show you. maybe stop practicing and then keep a watch here. It's very simple JS code only. Say suppose I give name trend1 equal to new trend, and here I have to give trend for method 1. Okay, this has to be a proper name because this will get displayed in your report. This can be any user defined variable. Now I want to create such trends for all my 4 methods because I wanted to assess my different APIs differently. Okay. Okay. So now how to use it? Now say suppose http.getCall got fired, and now I wanted, I've got the response, right? I'm checking the status code of this response. This is one kind of check. Now I wanted to see the response time of this API. What I'll do, I'll say trend dot, and then I'll use one parameter here dot add. So for all the K6 metrics, we should use this method add, and here which particular metric we wanted to assess. So response dot timings dot duration. This duration is the overall response time, the overall time it took to generate the response back. Okay, this, with this what we are achieving, we are assessing the API individually and not all the APIs together. Similarly, I should put trend 2 here, and I should put trend 3 here, and here I should put trend 4. Okay, so now trends though I have created, but then how to use these trends for my threshold? So this now I don't need because I'm cleaning my code. What I'll do is this name, no, I'll use here, and then syntax would remain similar, that P95 should be less than, say suppose this time 20 milliseconds. Same, I'll use it for all other trends. So in this way, you see what I'm doing. I have segregated my APIs. And now say suppose I'm aware that post API call wherein I'm creating the user normally takes 30 milliseconds of response time, and client is okay with it. Okay, so we'll change it. And here, say suppose this API, I am sure that it will take less than, or client has strictly said that this API should take 10 seconds and some 40 seconds. So what I have done, I have put up the threshold based upon the API and not the generic thresholds. Okay. So far we are good, or I'm rushing fast? No, right? We are good. Okay, I'll take it as this. Yes. And now let me rerun my test, or let me push it and let GitHub run it. Okay.
Harsha, you need to change the name, trend name.
Okay. Sorry. Where?
Um,
Oh,
line
sorry.
number 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being attentive. Okay. So I've changed the names also, and I've provided it. Okay. And here I have used the trends. So I'm just committing my change here. I don't know whether my terminal window is visible.
It is Harsha.
Okay.
Also, Harsha, in the meantime, we have a question on chat that
Hmm.
can you also share the tech in the GitHub repository? Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. I'll share it. But GitHub, though, I'll give the URL of the GitHub. But
Yeah,
then how to share?
we can have it in the meetup link itself. We'll update it over there.
Okay, okay.
When we put up the recording, we'll put the link as well over there in the tag as well.
Ready. Okay. Git push. Okay, so what I done, git pull I should do first. Okay, I have pushed it. Let's go to git page and then see whether it has updated the code or not. So it has. Let's go to actions and see. Okay. So on every git push, GitHub page is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then see, on my push, it started the trigger. Let's see what it does. So now what it will do is it will take thresholds individually for all the APIs and pass or fail depending upon what value I have provided for the trend. Okay. So this is what I just wanted to show, which is why I have asked for some more time, that this is how we can keep on cleaning our code. Because you people remember I've told you that analysis of the report is very, very important. So how will you analyze the report? Until and unless we are not putting the right metrics, we won't be able to find out the exact failures. There is one more metric, count. What's this use is, I'm not writing the code, just calling it out. Say suppose I have fired 500 requests. Because of any bottleneck in my gateway or any other middle layer of my application, I observed that only 200 or 300 APIs request got to the main API, main server. Rest all the requests got killed in between only. So if I have that count thing, no, and if my test failed, I expect that my count should be 300, but I am getting only 100 counts. Then test fail and it will clearly say that this API got stuck up or got hold somewhere in between, because of which it did not reach to its intended server. So this is how there are 4 to 5 kinds of metrics which K6 provides. Using them as per our need, will be able to fetch more like beneficial results. Okay, here it got failed. Let's see. So it says that, see this cross, no, here it's not colored, so it's not visible. So trend for method 2 fail because its P95 is 365 milliseconds. It's so high. I said that 30 milliseconds. It's taking 365 milliseconds. And for this method 3, I said 10 milliseconds, but it is taking 18. And see, other APIs got passed. So now I haven't generalized my code. Instead, um, I have put a safety net for all the APIs individually. So this was the thing I wanted to show you before closing it. Okay, I'll share this code for sure. I have pushed everything on GitHub only. Okay. With this, I wanted to take up. I'm closing it off. People, any questions? Any other thing?
Just one question on
Yeah.
running in cloud. You got that fancy results. Is there any similar way we can generate those reports?
Sorry. Cloud. I didn't understand your
Okay,
question.
when you run the script in cloud, right? We
Mm-hmm.
got that results in
Mm-hmm.
like in similar way. Is there any possible way to create the results while running in local using HTML or like?
Okay, when I was using the command as K6 run out minus minus out cloud, no, at that point in time, there are various other output, this thing. Maybe I'll tell you this thing, that what are options we can provide to run the K6. So the report we can push to either a JSON or an HTML page. HTML I haven't used because as I said that we were using Datadog only, but no, I cannot see HTML officially documented in their page. Maybe I'll share my screen and show you folks. This is what I'm referring to. For results visualization, these are the tools K6 support. Cloud is one of them, CSV, Datadog, Grafana, like that. But HTML, they are not supporting yet.
Okay. Is there any way to create results visualization while running in our local by using any of these methods? No, right?
By using any of these methods as in Avinash?
To create a result visualization in our local while running in our local, we can't do that, right?
Using HTML?
No, any of the methods provided by this K6, we can't able to create results in our local.
No, why not? We can do, no?
Other than this terminal, in displaying it in terminal.
Yeah. So what we can do is, if you see this JSON, you have to just fire this command K6 run minus out, and which parameter. If you say JSON equal to the name of the file, it will create this particular file in your root or whichever path you will provide, and it will save the data in the JSON format like this. So this is how we have to run it, the way we are running it. Okay.
Yeah, fine.
And Datadog may, if this we have used in our project, my previous project. Reason why we have used Datadog, because client already having lot of their production metrics available on Datadog. They asked us that, is your tool supports Datadog integration? We said yes. So they said that since we have all our metrics already on Datadog, you push your performance metrics also on Datadog, which is why we have used all this integration. And then the run which we were doing, we were using Bitbucket. So similarly, we have created YAML files and everything. Whenever that run happens, all our report goes and publish the stats onto Datadog. Later point in time, we used to analyze those results and create a report out of it, create an understanding that this is what your bottleneck is, and then report that to client.
Yeah, okay. I will go through this documentation later.
Okay. Any other questions or any suggestions, anything which you feel would have been there but is not included? Okay, I do not see any questions on chats either. So are we good? Shall I assume this?
Yeah, folks, please feel free to ask any doubts or clarifications you have. We will be wrapping up the workshop soon. So,
Okay, GitHub URL I'm pasting on Zoom chat also. We'll get you people can get it from Meetup link also. This is a public repo just now I've created, so it will be available. Okay then, thank you folks. Thank you for spending your Saturday.
thank you so much for joining the workshop. I hope you all had a great learning. And please feel free to share any feedback or anything before you drop off.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
people.
great day. Thanks, Harsha. It was a
Thanks,
wonderful
Kenny.
session.
Thanks for sharing this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Gracias.